Hey friends, Peggy Hall back with you from the healthyamerican.org. Did you know that there are millions of lab-bred mosquitoes about to be released in Hawaii? I learned about this story because my lovely Healthy Americans sent me information about this, and I get, oh my gosh, so many inquiries and ideas, people who would like me to interview them, share their stories, and I really appreciate you keeping me up to date on what's going on where you are. In fact, let me know where you are tuning in from. I'm also curious to know if you are a longtime resident of your state or if you have moved recently. I've heard of so many Californians who have packed up and left for greener pastures. I've done videos on that before, but I'm always interested in knowing where you are. There are so many freedom fighters in Hawaii. Hawaii was one of the hardest hit states along with California, New York, let's see, Oregon, Washington, Alaska, in terms of the government shutting things down. And by and large, in Hawaii, the government is very, let me just say, intertwined with the people's lives. So I want to bring to you this information about these lab-bred mosquitoes. And then I want to paint a bigger picture in terms of critical thinking and some of the mistakes of many that are being made in this whole hoopla. And then stay tuned until the end, because I wanted to share with you two strange things that happened to me yesterday after I finished live streaming. It has to do with mosquitoes, and it also has to do with the isms that I was talking about. I did a video yesterday where I said, you won't believe what the latest ism is, and how the powers that shouldn't be are forcing rational, level-headed, clear-thinking, regular people to not only adapt to someone else's fantasy world, but to actually accept it and celebrate it. So I want to tell you what happened about that yesterday as well. So that'll come in just a moment. First, let me tell you about a message from the sponsor of this video. And we are going to hop right on over. Let me cue this up for you, friends. I've been telling you about healthwithpeggy.com, and I'm going to share my screen because I'd like you to see the website here, healthwithpeggy.com. You can get your order for up to 51% off when you use my link in the description box below. And please expand that description box. I've got links to all sorts of programs and products and information and what to watch next and how to support me if you get value from my videos. What I want to tell you is that collagen may do more than just simply turn back the clock on how your skin looks. The latest research suggests that it also helps with building muscle and also losing fat, of course, when you combine it with exercise. And this is why I highly recommend trying out the Ageless Multi-Collagen for yourself. It's designed to help combat some of the visible signs of aging, bringing back a youthful glow, and it also supports healthy weight management. This uses a groundbreaking formula that combines 5 critically important types of collagen, including collagen peptides from grass-fed pasture-raised cows. And you can use this product in it's one easy to mix scoop. You add it to your smoothie, and that's how I like to do it. So go to healthwithpeggy.com. And again, use my link in the description box below, because you'll get up to 51% off of my favorite collagen here. And then every purchase also gets free VIP health and fitness coaching for life. That is quite a value. And you get a new e-report called the 14 Foods for Amazing Skin. You get that completely free. So I hope you'll try it out and like it as I do. Friends, let's talk about this alarming new, I guess I'm going to call it a trend. They're using lab-bred mosquitoes. Millions of them are set to be released in Hawaii to combat malaria in their bird population. Now, that sounds like a really worthy goal. And as you know, often these actions are wrapped up in very worthy goals so that the people will go along with it. Let me show you first these poor little birds that are trying to be saved. All right. Let me know if you know about this. Let me know if you live in Hawaii, if you've traveled to Hawaii, if you have any connection to the islands. Here we go. This is the Hawaiian honey creeper. And look at how sweet this is. Now, this is funny. The Hawaiian honey creepers and their tangled evolutionary tree. They're always pushing that word evolution. Are you telling me that these birds evolved from, I don't know, lizards or something? Birds have produce eggs, which then hatch new birds, and it's the same bird. So there is adaptation, there is also, development, but you do not evolve from one species to another. I'd have to dive deeper into that. Just wanted to show you a picture. And I do use Google on purpose because I want to see what the rest of the world basically is seeing, and if they are hiding any information or trying to manipulate it in any way. So this is the very sweet little bird. The reason I'm talking about these honey creepers is because healthy Americans that live in Hawaii have asked me to tell you about this action step to take before May 8th. I'm streaming live, and today is May 2nd. I will have all of the information, the links for you below. And if you're watching this later as a recording, you can also take information from this video in terms of critical thinking and analyzing these actions that the government is so intent on doing. So what I'm going to do is actually show you the website for the activist in Hawaii, and then I'm going to just give you a summary of what's going on. So here, let's just cut right to the chase, and this is it. The website here is, let's see, let me get that for you, hawaiiunites.org, and they are here to protect native birds, public health, and the aina, which is the land. Now, you know how I feel about public health. I think there are other words that would describe it, like public sanitation, and of course, clean air, clean water, clean land, but each individual person's health is their individual responsibility. However, when the government is going to be releasing these lab-bred mosquitoes that have not undergone this kind of testing to see what the environmental impact would be, don't you think it could harm you as well? So I think that would be a public concern, certainly. Now, I will leave this website for you, a link for that, so you can look at it and read through it. And there is a deadline, May 8th. They want to raise money for legal representation to challenge this biopesticide mosquito experiment. Yes, that's the name. I think I'll use that in my title, biopesticide mosquito experiment. And let me tell you a little bit more about this. They have a petition that you can sign as well. In fact, let me bring you back over there. And even if you don't live in Hawaii, you can still take action. So many of you say to me, Peggy, what can I do to fight government corruption? Here's something that you can do. So you can sign their petition here to demand an environmental impact statement for the experimental mosquito release on Maui. It's experimental. And here is more information. And then here is I'll just read this to you. In fact, I'll probably come off the screen because it might be a little difficult for you to see if you're on your phone. So I will read that to you, but I did want to let you know that there are several videos that you can watch at this website, and I will leave that for you as well. There are plenty of studies that you can look at and look at all of these resources that they've compiled. So if you would like to help support them, I will let you know all about that. So let me just, okay. We'll share the screen on this one. Mosquito species planned for import into Hawaii and diseases that they transmit. So they transmit the southern house mosquito. The southern house mosquito transmits avian malaria and West Nile vitamins. Now, I want to actually dive into this a little deeper. Stick with me because my lovely assistant did some digging into this, and there is so much confusion and distortion, just like there is around rabies. And it may be that there is much ado about nothing. I think, again, let me just get to the punchline here. Yes, these birds are having all sorts of strange things. They're missing limbs, they're missing an eye, they're dying, their feathers aren't looking right. There are so many symptoms that they are having, but couldn't it be from something else? You know what I'm talking about. Couldn't it be from something that might be sprayed in the air, for example? Couldn't it be from something else going on, such as electromagnetic radiation? Couldn't that also be a possibility? So it's very difficult to determine exactly why these birds are getting sick and dying. I think it is a noble and worthwhile action to try to save this bird population, but is bringing in and releasing all of these mosquitoes the way to do it. So I'm going to bring you a summary here, and then stick with me because I want to explain how they're presenting a false dichotomy, meaning only two choices. Either we release the mosquitoes or the birds die. Okay, that is called a false dichotomy. It is presenting two extreme choices when there are plenty of other choices throughout. Think about what we went through for the last 3 years. You either have to suffocate yourself or you're going to kill somebody. Oh, really? Well, I didn't see people dropping dead all the 3 years that I was breathing oxygen, breathing right in their face, hugging, sharing, experiencing things together. We had outings, we had events, and I was always breathing oxygen. So how is it that that false dichotomy is valid? It's not valid. There are plenty of other options, choices, actions, results within that continuum. It's something that it's a type of logical fallacy where people will present you with only two choices. Either you keep your job, or either you get jabbed or you're going to get fired. Okay, that did happen to some people, but there are plenty of other choices along the way. You could get your exemption, you could get unemployment, you could find another job. So I'm not saying that those are easy, but there are other choices. So we're presented with that. You have to, as the government said, you have to become a human cocktail or become a human pincushion by taking the cooties cocktail in order to save Granny. Oh, really? That's the only choice here. So that's what's going on with this. It is a false dichotomy. They are presenting this information and they're not allowing for any other alternatives. So that really troubles me. All right, let me get into the actual information here and I will summarize this for you. Millions of mosquitoes could soon be released on the Hawaiian island of Maui. In fact, they're planning on it to preserve several native bird species from going extinct. This was a news story on a Hawaii news website. National park officials announced that they would move forward with a plan to reduce the transmission of avian malaria, bird malaria, that is threatening and endangering forest birds by suppressing invasive mosquito populations. So the plan is to suppress the invasive mosquito populations. The idea is to use an incompatible insect technique. That's what they're calling it, an IIT, which consists of repeatedly releasing incompatible male mosquitoes into the wild to reduce the reproductive potential of female mosquitoes in the project area. Hey, sounds like what's going on in California. There are incompatible males that cannot reproduce with females. Why? They cut off all their body parts, all the male body parts. Oh, and by the way, apparently the females are having some sort of, surgeries, mutilation as well. It's you can't make this stuff up. The environmental assessment for the project was available for public review. This was part of the issue with these activists that are pushing back against this, saying that the information, they actually did not do the kind of impact report that they were required to do. There are going to be 40 billion, yes, you heard that right, 40 billion mosquitoes, these experimental mosquitoes, released every year on Maui. And there has not been a final environmental assessment done. The project is going to continue for 20 years. Isn't that sad? This experiment has never been done, and it could destroy the islands, the tourism, and more. This is what the activists are saying. So the vote has been taken by this public agency, and they agreed unanimously to go forward with this. The action that this Hawaii Unites is proposing to do is to get a judge to put a stay on that decision until more research can be done. So it sounds like a very reasonable approach. The question is, are there going to be judges that are going to abide by the law? Gee, if I'm going by my lawsuit, that doesn't look like it. That's very common these days. So on March 24th, 2023, the state of Hawaii Board of Land and Natural Resources, BLNR, voted unanimously to approve this assessment for the biopesticide mosquito experiment on Maui. They issued a finding of no significant impact. They refused to do a full environmental impact statement. So this is what Hawaii Unites is fighting for. They are requesting a case hearing prior to the board taking action, and the board infringed on the public's right to open governmental processes. That's exactly what I'm fighting here in California. The request for a contested case hearing was denied. They are going to appeal. They've also requested an investigation by the Office of Information Practices for their violation of the Sunshine Law. Friends, it is exactly what I'm going through. This is why I'm fighting so hard. In Orange County, the board said, we don't have to have these meetings anymore. We don't have to have any public meetings. We don't have to tell you if there's any information related to an emergency. You're just the peons. We're the kings and queens. Yeah, there might be some queens. I don't know. I'll cover that on another video. The fact is, this is an alarming trend that we're seeing where the public serpents are completely ignoring and shutting out we the people from the governmental process, from the legislative process, from the representative process. It is illegal. Hawaii has something called a sunshine law, just like California does. It means that these meetings must be held in the public when it has to do with public business. Orange County said, oh, we don't have to do them. We'll just do whatever the governor tells us. We don't have that kind of political system. That's totalitarianism. That's authoritarianism. That's one man rule or one woman rule, depending on who's ruling. We don't have that kind of political system. You can see now that they're doing it in Hawaii. You don't think this can't come to Oklahoma and Tennessee and Florida and South Dakota and the other free states? Friends, they're setting this in motion. This is why I've been fighting so hard. This is why they're fighting so hard. And just an aside, I am still gratefully receiving your contributions if you are able to help me pay for the legal action that I've been taking and will continue to take in the appeal. So I have a link for you in the description box below and also an address if you'd like to send a check in the mail. It's so important. Many of you have said, what can I do? I want to fight. Here are 2 important actions you can fight. So here we go. The deadline is May 8th for them to do their challenge to the biopesticide mosquito experiment. As I said, the state of Hawaii and its multi-agency partnership called Birds Not Mosquitoes, they plan to release, again, billions of mosquitoes over a period of years on Maui. Absolutely despicable. Here's the clincher. Federal documentation confirms that the outcome is unknown, and this plan may not even work. The specific population control technique has never been done in the state of Hawaii. Now, we don't even know if the birds are being stung by the mosquitoes, or if that is the reason for the malaria, or if that's even what is causing the bird's demise. I'm adding in my own commentary. An environmental risk assessment for this biopesticide, right? Bio, alive, human, not human, and probably they're going to do that next. Biological with the pesticide has not been conducted by the EPA, and the Hawaii Department of Agriculture, are you ready for this? Applied for an emergency exemption. Boy, oh boy, don't they love their emergencies. They want this emergency exemption for the use of the mosquitoes without going through any of the regulatory safety processes. That's very, very disturbing. Friends, they are messing with the environment. Where are all the environmentalists? Absolutely stunning. I bring this news day in, day out, all day, every day, basically. And I'm continually stunned, shocked, amazed, flabbergasted, and baffled by the blatant hypocrisy, the blatant neglect and ignoring of the will of we the people. It's just stunning. The Hawaii Department of Agriculture has applied for an EPA emergency exemption use of this biopesticide. proposing a new use of a microbial pesticide which has not been registered by the EPA. So our healthy Americans over in Hawaii, it's hawaiiunites.org, is demanding an environmental impact statement so that they can try to fight this. So the reason they want to do this is because they say that they want to save the endangered native birds from avian malaria. But why are they really doing this? That's the real question. It would appear that the documents connected to the project and the intent, I'm just reading my notes here, is to introduce the lab-bred mosquitoes for conservation purposes and also introduce the use of lab-bred bacteria-infected mosquitoes to target existing wild mosquitoes that transmit human diseases. But there's more than, here, I should have given you a little heads up. There's more than $14 million in the federal government budget for this. What are they doing? Gene technology, synthetic biology, and CRISPR technology. So basically they're experimenting on the mosquitoes. Guess who is funding this? Oh, excuse, did you say Granny Gates? You're exactly right. Anything that Granny Gates is behind, I'm in front. Okay, I don't want anything to do with anything Granny Gates is doing. So the risks include the fact that this has never been done before. There could be a different introduction of a bacterial infection introduced. There could be other vectors of insect disease. There is the potential for this bacteria called Wolbachia to increase pathogen infection. There could be additional risks to other native birds, public health, wildlife, and the environment from the spread of this bacteria. And let me give you a few little interesting tidbits here. Only female mosquitoes bite. They need a blood meal in order to produce eggs. Male mosquitoes do not bite. They feed on nectar from flowers. There is a lot about this Wolbachia bacteria on the World Mosquito Program website if you're interested. But I just needed to let you know that Granny Gates is funding the operation. So here's what the C says about the West Nile virus. No symptoms in most people. Most people, 8 out of 10 infected with the West Nile virus do not get any symptoms. Now, when we talk about malaria, it's interesting that if you do an internet search and you say, how do people get malaria? It says from being bit by an infected female mosquito. But then if you say, how do mosquitoes get infected with malaria? And you ask the internet that, the answer is, are you ready? The parasite infects female mosquitoes when they feed on the blood of an infected person. So let me get this straight. A mosquito gets malaria from a person who has malaria, and then a mosquito has malaria and then infects another person who doesn't have malaria. But a mosquito gets the malaria from a person. Just saying. So how do humans get it in the first place, if not from a mosquito? It says malaria is also transmitted through infected blood transfusions. I did a video some time ago about, is our blood safe? Let me know if you or anyone you know has ever had a blood transfusion. I hope that will not be in your future or mine. Mosquitoes also become infected when they feed on infected birds. The CDC says infected mosquitoes then spread the West Nile virus to people and other animals by biting them. So mosquitoes get the virus from the birds. You see this circular logic here. Going back to the infection of mosquitoes, the World Mosquito Program states, this is in Australia now, the Australian government's Commonwealth Research Organization undertakes an independent risk analysis and finds the risks to be negligible. So it's very, very interesting. I'm going to leave this for you, friends. I am not an expert on this by any means, but I wanted to bring this to you as a public service announcement for our freedom fighters there in Hawaii. If I made any mistakes in the presentation of the information, I apologize. As I say, this is not my area of expertise. What is my area of expertise is fighting government corruption. And that's what they're doing. They're fighting their government corruption in Hawaii because they also, there's a word that eludes me right now, that they wanted to challenge the vote that they had, and they were not allowed to do that. So now they need to take legal action. So it's over at hawaiiunites.org. I'm going to leave that for you. And then there also are some videos that you can watch where there are people that are very well known in the field, and they can talk about alternatives. So it's not that false dichotomy of only the birds are going to die and become extinct unless we release all of these lab-bred mosquitoes. Okay, there's got to be something within the middle, and that's what these other experts are talking about. There are alternatives. So I will leave you with my final comment here, which is two things that happened to me yesterday, very strange. So yesterday I told you that I was going to be doing a video about mosquitoes. Now, I have not had a mosquito bite in I don't know how long. You know, luckily I don't live in an area where there are mosquitoes and a lot of bugs or anything, so I count myself lucky for that. But I took Teddy out. She says hello, by the way. I know you can't see her on screen. I have my virtual living room. There are a couple weirdos out there that I just don't want to invite into my real home, if you know what I'm saying. So I like my virtual living room, and all are welcome, and it helps to protect my privacy. So I know you used to see Teddy in the background. She's right here next to me, and I took her out for a walk last evening after I was doing some computer work. And I came back in, and I don't think you can see it, it's gone down. I had a giant mosquito bite on my forehead. I mean, it's like, okay, that's weird. We've all had the experience where we've been thinking about something and then it shows up on our phone or on Facebook or on the computer or as a suggestion in a YouTube video or something. I was talking about doing a video on mosquitoes. I've not had a mosquito bite for years. And yesterday, after talking about that, letting you know I was going to be doing this video, I got a giant mosquito bite right on my forehead. Luckily, it has receded. And I thought that was so strange. The other thing is, I always listen to my live streams after I broadcast them. And I want to make sure I just am double checking what I shared. I pull out any little interesting tidbits that I might want to follow up with. I look at your comments, and I usually play it on 2 times the speed. So there's a little gear in the bottom of the YouTube screen that you can click on, and you can choose your speed. And I like to listen to it twice as fast so I can get through it twice as fast. That's a little tip for getting through the videos more quickly. So while I was listening to my video yesterday about the isms, and I started talking about the pretenders and those that are, you know, trying, maybe it's going to happen again now, those that are dressing in the clothes of the opposite sex and so forth, my entire computer went poof. Everything shut down. There was no storm. There was no outage. There was nothing. So I thought those were 2 very strange things that happened to me yesterday, but I will persevere, friends. I am here for you. I get emails, cards, letters. I get text messages, phone calls. I just got phone calls today from lovely, healthy Americans that I've helped in the past. I've had repeat clients that have come to me for help navigating their religious exemptions, and you know, maybe they went through it and then they want to help a family member, or I've had people now that are coming as immigrants into the United States and they want to navigate how to go through their immigration process as a pureblood and not become a human pincushion. I had a lovely, healthy American reach out to me today who unfortunately is going through some physical therapy and rehab. And he said, I cannot thank you enough for keeping me safe and helping me keep my job. He said, I pray for you. I'm grateful for you. You have no idea how many people that you have impacted with your work. And then he was being harassed at this physical rehab place. He wasn't being harassed, and his physical therapist was not, but the people that were running it wanted them to get tested because somebody got tested for cooties. And if you don't get tested and show that you know, I guess don't have it, otherwise, you have to be quarantined and you can't come to the facility for 10 days. Why in the world should you or my healthy American client or anyone have to be put through that ridiculous, illegal, unlawful, just stupid inconvenience because somebody else thinks that they have cooties. It's absolutely stunning. Luckily, friends, all of this is going to be fading away in about 10 days. May 11th is the day when all of this hoopla, all of the hogwash is supposed to be done once and for all, including the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. And that is the final kind of controlling arm for all of these doctors requiring you to wear the suffocation device, requiring you to be tested. And they are still following the Medicare, the federal guidelines. It's so difficult to try to talk sense into people. This lovely, healthy American wants me to reach out to the managers at the clinic to say, look, you're not under any requirement to do that. Nobody's going to come check. You're not going to lose your license. You are able to continue as you have been. But the fact is they are living in fear and they don't want to listen to reason. I know this because I've been doing this work for over 3 years. And it seems like these medical settings are the last holdout. They really don't care. They don't care about the law. They don't care about your rights. All they care about is getting their Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement. And by the way, Kaiser and others are being sued by the federal government for millions and millions, in fact, probably billions of dollars in Medicare fraud related to cooties. The whole thing is one giant hogwash bucket that's disgusting. So I don't even really want to talk about that anymore. I really hope that we can move on from all of that. My goal is to continue to help you develop your critical thinking skills, to bring good news to you, to help you navigate life ahead, to find out a way of living that's better than normal, and to not fall prey to all of these antics. Again, I want you to know about your rights and how to stand up for them. So let me just close. I know I'm going off a little bit on a different topic, but I couldn't not talk about this. Let me just close by saying this. Many of you have, not many, some of you have told me that you have had cooties, and you know that because you had all the symptoms. The symptoms are the same symptoms for the flu and a cold, and losing your sense of smell, your sense of taste. That happens with the colds and flu as well, because you have a stuffy nose, so you can't smell. And when you can't smell, you can't taste, and you may have swollen glands and so forth. So that's just number one. And I hope that you're feeling better. Number two, any type of diagnostic test that you may have taken, don't want to trigger any algorithms here. None of that has ever been proven to test what it purports to test. So you may have had a positive, the test may have said that you were positive for this, but it's never been proven or even approved that test what it says it tests for. So that's number two. And number three, the thing that it says that it tests for, that itself has actually never been identified. They're dealing with a synthetic molecule that was created. They created it, splicing together whatever they do with the CRISPR technology and so forth, as a model for what they think it is. So I know that's probably difficult for some people to understand, because many people, and I really do get it, many people are like, you're telling me that I went through all of this for nothing? You're telling me that people died for nothing? You're telling me that I lost my job and I had to stay home and my life was turned upside down? And some of you are telling me that you had loved ones that passed away, you had divorces, you have children that you'll never speak to, and all of that for nothing? Do more research, friends. There's so much available out there. So the narrative that they're pushing in the mainstream of some type of V escaped from a lab, I guess with its running shoes and a little backpack or something, that's also a fairy tale. Those that are pushing that narrative, you need to look at more carefully. You need to scrutinize them more carefully. And I know it's a very difficult truth to accept, that all of those things that we've been fed are lies. People have gotten sick. I did a video about why do people get sick. People have had symptoms. People have died. Many of you have told me that your loved ones died, not because of what they were sick from, but because of how they were treated. I'm going to leave the end of the sentence right there. So the reason I'm saying this is it gives no legitimate reason for anyone to say, I tested positive, and therefore all y'all that are in the same place where I work, you have to get tested or you can't come back to work. Why should you have to be inconvenienced for someone else's illness? And I would say to them, prove it. Prove that you have this. Even if you believe that it exists, and even if you believe in these tests are unreliable. The tests produce false positives, if you want to go along with their narrative. The tests are not approved by the FDA. They are authorized under an emergency authorization, meaning they've never gone through the rigors, whatever those are, for the scientific research and investigational standards to actually prove its efficacy. So it all goes back to, these are conversations I would have with your doctor or your medical practitioner. It's like, prove it to me, show me. Now, they probably will think that you've lost you're off your rocker because the brainwashing has been so strong. Now that we're 3 years into all of this, and hopefully we're going to get beyond all of this, and a lot of the fear, a lot of the emotions ideally have receded, it's time for you to really do that digging. And not only that, but really raise your eyebrows when you hear about all these other doctors talking about the gain of function. And I'm super skeptical about all of that. And selling cures for what ails you on that. Haven't you ever heard that? There's no cure for the common cold. Basically, that's what they did. The common cold took away that name, put on another name. There you have it, friends. Delivering truth. All right, I better stop now. Thanks for being on board, everybody. I'll be back with you with a special interview tomorrow, speaking about highlighting and sharing the good work of healthy Americans. Renette Senham is going to be back with me. And I had no idea that she was kind of a character. Man, some of you have some strong opinions on both sides about Renette. She's doing some very good work. And I want to bring to you this information about an action, huge action that she is spearheading about cleaning up the skies, about shedding the light on all of the spraying that's going on. And I'm all in favor of having more eyeballs on the skies, learning about the despicable happenings that are going on at the hands of the government and other evildoers in terms of poisoning the skies. So we're going to be talking about that tomorrow in our live stream, and I can't wait to see you then. Big shout out to the moderators and all of my lovely, healthy Americans. I appreciate you. See you soon, everybody.